And so heard a lot of great things. It looks really good, and we're really excited that they're doing well. We're also excited about being able to sign a number of additional great pieces of legislation showing Florida's support for our military and for our veterans. And I think this is going to be continue our momentum as a state that really is the best state to be for folks who are both active duty and veterans. And you know, when you're in Northwest Florida, obviously a great military community. You've got the epicenter of naval aviation, and now everyone's gone so crazy about the latest iteration of Top Gun. People want to go see. I have not seen it. I've heard really good things about it. Has anybody seen it? Is it thumbs up or no? Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, it's just, I think, and I do want to see it at some point. I think it's just, you know, it's like any movie that's not like overwhelmingly woke could like actually appeal to normal people. And so it's interesting. So yes, but we're really fortunate that we are a great state to be a veteran, to live as a veteran, also active duty service member. But clearly up here in Northwest Florida, we've got a great military community. We've got great veterans who are really important parts of the community up here. And so we're very thankful for that. And in Florida, we want to welcome that to continue. And you know, when I was in the Navy, I was actually, my first duty station was in Northeast Florida, but when people would end up getting assigned in Florida, they would always maintain that Florida residence, even if they got sent to Bremerton, Washington, or Norfolk, or all these other places. They always wanted to keep that. Honestly, that's a smart thing to do. So a lot of them end up coming back here. So we look forward to do that. I do, though, want to say that if you look at some of the things going on in this country, they have some lunatic that was trying to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh. And this is something that's very, very troubling because you got a lot of people who whip this up. People like Chuck Schumer talking about them facing the whirlwind. They have lifetime appointments. What type of whirlwind are you talking about? And so you're doing that. And I think there's a lot of really, really crazy people out there, unfortunately, that really get consumed with ideology. These are people that don't really have, I think, a religious foundation or any type of relationship with God. And so they turn to radical politics as kind of what they're going to do. So I saw when I was in Congress, when we had a Bernie Sanders supporter shoot up the baseball practice for the congressional baseball, and that was definitely an attempted assassination. Shot Steve Scalise, some other people, but you know, he was trying to assassinate Republican members of Congress. That was what his intention was. He was doing it for political purposes. And so you have this guy yesterday was saying he wanted to go and kill Kavanaugh because he was concerned about court decisions that may be rendered. So he's trying to change the operation of one branch of our government through political assassination. And so they've arrested him, and he needs to be brought to justice. But, you know, the silence is deafening from a lot of our media outlets on this. They do not want to talk about it. Honestly, I mean, a lot of them have some really screwed up priorities, as we see almost every day. But I can only imagine if the shoe is reversed. I mean, they would be going berserk if you had some Trump supporter doing anything even approaching to that. So I think it's important for everybody across the political spectrum to just say, you know, there's no place for that type of behavior in American society. And and you don't get every outcome in politics or in law. You're not going to get every single thing that you want all the time, okay? That's just the way it works, and sometimes it could be frustrating. I could tell you, we've done very well in Florida, but, you know, every single election nationally doesn't always go the way I want. Lord knows they've rendered court decisions throughout the many decades that have been head scratchers, but that doesn't give you the right to take the law into your own hands and attempt something of that magnitude. And so I'd like to hear more people condemn that because I really haven't heard, I think, sufficient amount of response given really the gravity of what was attempted. It wasn't just violating law, which is significant. It wasn't even just the fact that this guy was looking to murder someone, which is very serious, but that was being done in service of really changing outcomes at the judicial branch of government, and that's really, really problematic. And so I hope they throw the book at this guy, but you know what they need to do? They need to get these people out of those neighborhoods. They're bringing mobs in front of the Supreme Court justices' homes purely for intimidation purposes, and there's a time and place and a manner for people to be able to protest, but to go in a residential community and to be trying to intimidate folks is not the appropriate thing. I actually think it probably violates federal law. You don't see the FBI and the Attorney General very concerned about what's going on with the safety of these Supreme Court justices. They're very concerned about some things which are not as significant, not as concerned about this. And so, you know, I think they've really fueled a lot of negative energy here, and I'm not surprised that this happened. You know, it's sad that it did, and I can only imagine this guy seemed like he was really off his rocker, but you could have somebody that would succeed in this would be devastating, I think, for the country. So I hope that the Attorney General will do more, and I hope the Congress will pass some more security for these folks, because it's clearly we're in a new era with some of the stuff that's going on. And then I'd also just say, you know, this disinformation bureau that the Department of Homeland Security has had, you know, they put it on ice because there was a lot of public blowback, but you look at now some of these documents that you got from people like Senator Grassley, they were doing exactly what I said they were. In fact, last time I was in Okaloosa, I was saying, you know, what they are going to do is it's not that the government's going to come in and not let you speak directly. What they're going to do is they're going to subcontract out the censorship to these big tech companies, and so Twitter and all these others, and that's really what that's the whole plan all along. And so that's enlisting massive Silicon Valley corporations to basically do indirectly what the government is not allowed to accomplish directly. I still think that's a First Amendment violation either way, but that's really what they have the design on. So that thing needs to be totally dismantled in Washington, and I do not want government telling me what is right, appropriate information and disinformation, because, you know, this regime spreads more disinformation than anybody about a whole host of different issues. And so all they're trying to do is stifle dissent. They don't want people to be able to criticize. They don't want people to be able to show why a lot of the things that that they're advocating with are not factually based in fact. And so I think it's very important that we maintain voices to be able to fight back and to be able to speak the truth, particularly when they don't want you to. So we've been on this from the beginning. The fact that they stood down was kind of a small victory, but I think a lot of us just assumed, you know, they're going to try to regroup and go forward, and I think that that's what they're going to try to do. So, you know, we need the folks in Washington to really step up and put the kibosh on this thing once and for all, because it's got no place in a free society. So today I'm joined with the Adjutant General of Florida, Major General Jim Eifert. I have Major General James Hartzell, who's the head of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. Yeah. We have the Senior Chancellor from the Florida Department of Education, Henry Mack. I've got the Sheriff of Okaloosa County, Eric. Where's Eric at? Is he here? Okay, yeah, I didn't see him. I have Representatives Salzman and Maney. Thank you for coming. And the owners of Props Brewery and Grill, we have Nate Van Adder and Mike Key are with us as well. So I want to thank them again for hosting us. So we have 6 pieces of legislation that we're going to sign today that's going to show and demonstrate Florida's commitment to our veterans. And we've signed a number of great bills over the last few years. We've provided a lot of great support for both active duty service members and our veterans, and what we're doing is continuing along those efforts. I signed the state budget last week, and we signed the budget with a lot of vetoes to make sure we have a record budget surplus, which we do have in the state of Florida, making sure that we're meeting a lot of the key priorities like infrastructure, education, supporting our natural resources, and we've done that. We also did a lot to help military and veterans, and so we have in the budget I signed, that'll be effective July 1st, almost $14 million to support scholarships for children and spouses of deceased or disabled veterans in the state of Florida. We have $5.1 million for our National Guardsmen who are seeking advanced degrees in higher education. And then we have $100 million, which I had previously announced, for a Hometown Heroes program, which provides down payment and closing cost assistance for any active duty veteran or spouse of a deceased veteran in the state of Florida. And so that's going to make a big difference. We also got $10 million to reestablish Florida's State Guard. We're going to have 400 recruits. The first applications are already coming in. We're going to have more to announce on that very soon. But, you know, part of what precipitated this was you had the federal government imposing these mandates on the military as a whole, but even on the National Guard, which they have some administrative control over. And so we wanted to make sure we had our guard that could perform similar functions, but that would not be captive to some of these misguided federal mandates. They are kicking people out of the military who serve with honor and distinction over these COVID shots. And a lot of these people that they're kicking out have already recovered from COVID. A lot of them have reasons why they're not doing the shots. And so they say they have to kick people out to maintain good order and discipline. You are harming good order and discipline by not standing behind people that have fought for this country. And so I think it's been a huge mistake. And the zeal with which the military has pursued this has been a real head scratcher to me as a veteran. You know, we work hard in Florida to lift people up, to stand by people, to make sure they have opportunities to participate in society and to serve. We just liberated a bunch of people, almost 100 athletes in Florida who had disabilities and were being excluded from the Special Olympics because they didn't have vax. And so we made sure our anti-discrimination law was enforced, and we were able to have all these athletes have a chance to compete, which they would not have had if we had left it to these international authorities. And so in the military, so for them to come down and try to do this with military service members, I think is a huge mistake. We viewed it as strategically an opportunity that if they kick somebody out of the Navy or the Army or the Marine Corps or the Air Force and they want to be in Florida and continue serving in some capacity, the State Guard would give them the ability to do that. We're not going to have... We're not going to have those types of mandates. We want people to be able to serve, and so it gives us really an opportunity to have some force multipliers in the state of Florida. We have one of the lowest guard to citizen ratios in the country. We're a large state, and we have a lot of need for things like disaster response, unfortunately, and hopefully we are quiet this summer, but we're always prepared, and we know that this is just a fact of life in Florida. And so when you have those events, you know, the Guard are some of the main people that we rely on to help people in those situations. And so we're going to be able to, I think, really expand the number of individuals just generally, which is important, but then probably be a landing spot for people who have been marginalized due to these federal mandates. And so the military's loss will be the state of Florida's gain, and I think it was smart that the legislature provided us this money, and a lot of people are very interested and excited about potentially joining the State Guard here in the state of Florida. So we'll have more to announce on that as we move forward. And then last week we also announced $3 million in awards to military communities to support base infrastructure and economic opportunities through Florida DEO and through Enterprise Florida. So we have a lot of different wickets that we're hitting to help these folks, and we're going to continue to do that. Now today is great because we're going to do a lot. I think that's going to have a big impact. So I'm signing 6 bills. First one is HB 45, and that is going to expand educational opportunities for disabled veterans by making sure they get tuition assistance, because oftentimes the availability of assistance through the GI Bill is not sufficient to fully cover their tuition. We're going to close the gap with this bill, and this is going to make a big difference. SB 430 I'll be signing, which will increase and enhance Florida's efforts to make sure that the children of active duty service members are able to transition in terms of education appropriately with seamless school placement, enrollment, records transfer, and verification of graduation requirements. We don't want somebody to be transferred from Virginia or Texas or California and then get mired in bureaucracy and red tape. And so this is helping us do better in that regard, and I think that'll be a relief for a lot of military families who are bringing their kids here to go to school. To help veterans as well as military families find employment, we're signing SB 514. That allows state agencies, and I think this is really significant, to substitute military experience for post-secondary education requirements so that veterans can apply for jobs that they are qualified for and not be hindered just because they don't have some magic piece of paper, which likely would have caused too much anyways. And from a perspective of state agencies, you give me somebody that served 8 years in the Navy or the Marine Corps, that education is going to be much more beneficial and pertinent than someone that went $100,000 into debt to get a degree in zombie studies. And so we're recognizing that, and we're expanding opportunity, but also taking this opportunity to enlist people that have a lot to offer our state agencies. And so I think this is something that I very strongly supported. I'm glad the legislature passed it. We also have SB 896 will help veterans access jobs and education by allowing their military service to count towards the requirement for a temporary educator certificate. So they will be able, as veterans, to teach in our schools under the mentorship of a certified teacher even before they get their degree. And I think I'm very supportive of that. SB 562 requires the Department of Business and Professional Regulation to expedite occupational license applications of all active duty military spouses. And so what will happen is a family will be PCS to a different state, so they come to Florida, and you have a military spouse that may have some type of a job or vocation, and you have licensing requirements in these different states, and so you can get mired and not even be able to work because you don't get the license. Now, we've streamlined a lot of that anyways in Florida, but this is accelerating, so when you come in on active duty orders, you go to the front of the line to be able to get the license approved, and I know that'll be a big relief to a lot of military families. And then finally, we're signing SB 438, which updates Florida's statutory definition of uniformed service to include the United States Space Force. And so we think that given everything that Florida is doing in space, mostly commercial space now, but we think the U.S. Space Force is going to have an increasing presence in the state of Florida, and so I'm happy that we did that. I think it's very, very timely. Also today, can announce that CareerSource Florida and our workforce agencies will dedicate $20 million in targeted workforce training supports for our veterans with a focus on high-demand industries, including aviation, aerospace, and defense. And so that's going to have a great benefit for service members and veterans, but I think for the state to be able to keep some of that talent here and put them into these industries that are really growing and potentially very lucrative, I think is the right thing to do. So I'm proud to be governor of a very military-friendly state. I served in Florida for a time on active duty, and it's really, really meaningful that you have the people that are wearing the uniform get genuine support from the community as a whole. That's not true in every part of our country, unfortunately, but it's definitely true up and down the coasts of Florida, but particularly up here in Northwest Florida. So. So we're going to hear from some of our speakers here. So we'll start with General Jim Eifert.
Thank you, Governor. On behalf of the 12,000 Florida National Guard's airmen and soldiers, it's an honor to be here today. I'd like to thank the legislature and Governor DeSantis, as they've all done a superior job for our soldiers and airmen of the Florida National Guard. These bills will go a long way to helping both our active duty and our National Guard citizen soldiers and their spouses have opportunities for meaningful employment. Solid career opportunities lead to a well-rounded and ready force, and a stable home environment prepares our guardsmen and their families for deployments to include disaster response right here in the state. The Florida National Guard currently has about 1,300 soldiers and airmen deployed around the world, with another 400 preparing for federal deployments over the next year. We're located from the southwest border in New Mexico and Texas, assisting the Customs and Border Patrol, all the way to the border of Ukraine, assisting the Ukrainians against the Putin invasion. Our guardsmen are better able to focus on their missions when they know civilian leadership has their best interests at heart. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the employers across our entire state who support our guardsmen when they're called to service. I want to thank you for your understanding and assure you that we appreciate your sacrifices. Your patience and support are greatly appreciated, especially as we just entered another, could be very busy 2022 hurricane season. Governor, as always, we thank you for your continued support and for making Florida the most military-friendly state in the entire country. Thank you.
Okay, we have from the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, Major General James Hartzell.
It is truly an honor to be here with the Commander-in-Chief of the state of Florida this morning. All right? 37-year Marine, I know a little bit about leadership, and I am honored to serve this leader. I'll be honest with you. Navy combat deployed veteran. My research says of our 50 currently serving governors, there's 7 who are veterans. And I'm happy we have 7. We need more who are veterans serving as governors. My research says that only 1 of those 7 currently serving governors is a veteran deployed overseas to combat. He's standing right here. I like to mention that. I want us to know as Florida citizens because it's so important, because Governor DeSantis was there and saw what happens when a centralized government does wrong to its people. He's visually seen that. He's experienced it. He saw the when, the where, the how when a government fails its citizens. He learned that in uniform like all of us did who saw that overseas in different parts of the world. I think he brought that back with him, and he knows what's right to do for a nation's citizens and what's right to do for our country. He knows what government overreach does to a nation. We saw that in Iraq. Mismanagement of fiscal responsibility. We saw that in different parts of the world. Controlled media, coerced state-controlled media, proving to its citizens a false narrative to lead them astray. We saw that happen. He literally lived it and saw it. He saw what a failed border does to a nation. Not only is it terrible in time, but the future of that nation still, to this day, 20 years later, has problems in those parts of the place we served in because they didn't have a secure border. He gets it. He understands it. He knows that you have to uphold family values, moral foundation values, and he sees when a government doesn't support that at the local level. it ruins a nation. We're not going to let that happen in Florida because he's our leader, I guarantee you. You know, our governor's leadership does make us and has made us the most veteran-friendly state in the nation without question for both our active duty and their families, but also our 1.5 million veterans and their families. Today's bill that he just talked about, he'll be signing, reinforce success. That's what you do with your money in reserves as a military leader. You reinforce success. Don't throw it into a hole, this failure. Reinforce success. That's why our leadership of our governor makes veteran the most veteran sought-after state in the nation. More veterans are moving here for a reason. Because one, they know our leader, they see what we're doing for our families, they see what we do in our schools, they see what we do to overreach and mandates. And I get all the time phone calls, emails, texts saying, tell your governor thank you. For the 65 and older veterans, they hear they tell me salute you. Right? Yeah. All right. For the 20 and 30 something veterans, like Michelle Salzman back here, all right, they send me a text. They said, tell the governor thank you. Tell him DOD, Department of Defense, moved my family here, but because of your governor, I'm staying here when we get off active duty. That's what I like to hear. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, we have Henry Mack from Florida Department of Education.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much. As the governor said, I'm Henry Mack. I represent all of our public school districts, state colleges, and technical colleges. And on behalf of all of our faculty, all of our professors and college presidents, thank you. From day one, you have been the educator governor. The one focused on eradicating Common Core, the one focused on increasing teacher pay, and the one focused on removing barriers such as the ones that these bills will remove so that people can access a high-quality, high-value credential to make a life of themselves and their families. I would be remiss as a lifelong teacher and professor myself not to acknowledge again how important access and opportunity is for all of our populations, for all residents across the state of Florida, especially our veterans and especially our active duty military service members. There are over 70,000 active duty veterans or active reserve members enrolled in our colleges now, and they are doing it, they are getting a degree or they're getting a workforce credential without any debt. So not only do these bills enable the access, but the college, such as Northwest Florida State College here, right around the corner, will underwrite the cost of tuition. There is absolutely no barrier anymore to accessing a higher education, including not needing a high school diploma. You don't have a high school diploma, we'll get you one. If you can't read or write at the levels that you need to, we will ensure that you do, so that you can get the credential that you need to make a successful life, again, for you and your family. So from day one, on behalf of my new boss, Commissioner Manny Diaz, Governor DeSantis, thank you for being the education governor.
Well, we're excited to be able to do this, and I think it's going to make a big difference. I just hope, I mean, you look, we in Florida, we're tackling education. We've done more than anyone. Public safety, phenomenal what we've done with that, and making sure, I mean, you see these prosecutors that even bounced the guy out of San Francisco. They don't prosecute people, and then you have crime everywhere. We don't tolerate that here. You know, we hold people accountable. You look at what we've done on infrastructure. We had more infrastructure in this budget than we've ever had for our Department of Transportation, because, you know, you need to build this when you have a big state. That's just the reality. So we want to do as best we can to keep up with those needs. I just announced all the stuff we're doing for our natural environment and water resources and State Park. That's part of the budget. No one's ever seen anything quite like that. You look at what we're doing with parents' rights, making sure that they have access to curriculum and that they can send their kid to school without having indoctrination. And so we're across, and the border, you know, we are fighting Biden at the border too. They say, oh, you're not a border state. What do you care? The fentanyl comes to Florida, and a lot of these people try to come to Florida. And so we have a responsibility to be fighting back. And so we have a case on catch and release up here in Northwest Florida in federal court. We're winning. I think we're going to win that. I'm going to sign a bill very soon that'll be effective July 1st. The contractors are going to get penalized if they dump illegal aliens in Florida from the border. and then I got $12 million that I'll have access to very soon. We're going to use that to reroute if he sends a caravan to Florida, we're rerouting it to places like Delaware and other sanctuary states. So, and you see there's a massive caravan that's coming towards the southern border right now. And what is Biden doing? He's fumbling around on late night TV shows, and he needs to get in the game here, and he needs to defend our country's sovereignty, because that's going to absolutely overwhelm not just Texas, but it's going to overwhelm a lot of other communities throughout the United States of America. We didn't have a fully sealed border when he came in, but it was much better than it had been, and now this is the worst it's ever been. And the result is you have fentanyl pouring into this country, you've got sex trafficking, you've got all kinds of really, really bad stuff. The number one cause of death for people 18 to 45 in this country right now is fentanyl overdose. That would not happen if you didn't have the border open and this stuff pouring in record numbers. So these policies are very destructive, and I think that if those caravans are allowed to come in, I mean, it's going to be overwhelming. And so, you know, we sent people last summer, some of the state agencies to the border to help. But you know what would happen? They let them come across, and then you give them to the feds, and the feds just release them anyways. You know, what they need to do, Texas should just send them back across the border. You know, who cares what the feds are saying? They're not doing their job, or not let them come across the border to begin with, because they go right across the river. They just walk right across. No one's stopping. So, you know, some pushback I think would be good, and I would send people to help with that if that was what it was done, where it was really, really making a difference. But to just kind of stop somebody, hand off to border, and then the border releases them anyways. You know, I'd much rather have our folks here to be able to protect Floridians, and we are doing that with we're looking for any caravans coming on the interstate or any of these other roads. We've got people deployed. You know, we're working. Fortunately, we've not. Well, on one hand, fortunately, we haven't seen any big caravans sent to Florida. On the other hand, it's easier if that's the case to see it, because if people are trickling in one or two at a time, that's much more difficult to be able to know, because obviously you got a lot of people coming and going from the state of Florida. But I don't think there's been very many government failures quite as big as the failure of the border in the last year and a half. I mean, it's just been absolutely catastrophic. And so, and the effects are being felt in every state. It is not just a South Texas problem or an Arizona problem. Yes, it is a problem there. I mean, you got people that have all these foreign nationals running through their property who live in those communities. And it's interesting, all those communities now, traditionally been blue areas, they're all going to go very dark red in the election because of the border and because a lot of these other bad policies, the wokeness and all this other stuff. And so people are absolutely responding, and nobody's listening in D.C. And I think that this is just a huge problem. And so we're bracing for that. I hope we can win our case. I think we will. And then we'll see what our additional options are to hold Biden accountable. Because you know what? This is not a choice. When you take an oath to support and defend the laws and Constitution of this country. And when you fail to do that, you're violating the oath that you took, your oath of office. And so I think it's been a policy calamity, but I also think it's been a constitutional calamity to have what's going on there. And then you don't even talk about the gas prices this summer. Can you imagine how much higher it's going to get? It's been going up and up. They declare war on American energy. It's gone up more in the U.S. than it's gone up in Germany and a lot of these other European countries because of the policies, because they're trying to do this. And someone's going to have to explain to me how you don't want energy from your own country because of global warming, but you can get it from Maduro and some of these thugs, and somehow is that different oil? Or, I mean, what am I missing here? Of course not. It's politics. It's ideology. And it's based on this notion that somehow you can run a modern economy without using the energy resources that we have. And we were energy independent prior to Biden taking office. And now that is changing in a big, big way. And you feel it at the pump. more than ever. It's the highest I've ever seen gas in my life, and I was born and raised in Florida. The summer driving season is likely going to push it even higher for people. So that has a hugely negative effect on people's incomes and budgets. But then it also affects everything going on in the economy, because transporting goods, creating things, building things, all is influenced by the spike in energy prices. And so everything you buy is more expensive. Part of it is because they've borrowed and printed trillions of dollars and jacked up the money supply and overheated, and that's led to a lot of inflation. But the energy is permeating all these different sectors of the economy, and he's not doing anything to reverse course. They say we're going to solve inflation by spending more money. How does that work? What economics are you doing there? So they don't really have an answer for it. I think basically the energy secretary's response, or one of the senators from a Democrat, was saying, you know what, people are complaining about high gas prices. She said she drove to Washington in her electric car and didn't have to pay for gas. I'm like, well, you know what, a lot of people don't have that luxury. I mean, the average electric vehicle is probably $50,000, and they're not even easy to get. Even if everyone just decided that's what they were going to do, how many electric vehicles are even available for purchase, like in Northwest Florida? Not enough, I can tell you that. And so this is just really ridiculous. But it's been a huge, huge negative for a lot of people, and it's really hurting our economy. Florida, we're getting the policy right. You look at our big budget surplus, our tax relief, all these great things, but then to have the feds come in with these policies, is really, really disappointing. So our job, protect against Bidenflation, protect against Biden's policies, and making sure Florida is not diverted off course. So we're going to continue plowing ahead, and we're going to continue to be making the right decisions. All right, let's get this done. I've ever done 6 in one sitting, so this is a lot. Okay, so let's see. All right. Do we have any kids here? Okay. You guys want some pens? These are water markers, because I know the kids like to write on themselves with a permanent marker. Okay. All right, so first we have the occupation and licensure bill that's going to help with the spouses. It's going to be a big deal. Today's date is what? The 12th? June 9th? All right, so there's number 1. What we're going to do, we'll pose with all of them at the end when we're able to get it done. Okay, this updates Florida statutes so that uniformed service member, not just Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, but also the Space Force. Got that one. Now we've got, educator certification. This is good. Get more veterans in the classroom. Oh, this is great. Substitute work experience in the military for post-secondary. The student debt, they want to just have taxpayers do the debt, but a lot of the people that would have to pay it either paid their loans or are working and didn't necessarily go to college, and they're working as plumbers or carpenters or all this other stuff. Very unfair to make them pay for somebody who has a PhD in gender studies or some of these things. So what I'd say is, if you want to do loan relief, I'm fine doing it. The colleges should be responsible. All right. Interstate compact on. Oh, good. That's that. is disabled veterans, tuition assistance. Okay, so who wants a pen? Well, I got some from them. Here, where are the kids? Come here, who else wants one? Any other kids? Good to see you again, Joe. All right, who else? There you go. All right. All right, now what we're going to do is, everyone hold one. Hold one up. We'll do a nice picture. Saltzman. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3, cheese. I should have done this before I signed, but I am going to bring up the owner here, one of the owners of Props Brewery. I just got so excited to sign the bills, I forgot. So Nate Van Adder, come on, thank you. Yep.
Thanks. Wow. Humbling. Very, very, very humbling. Wow. Governor DeSantis here in Fort Walton Beach. Yeah. Up Joe Road. I was asked this morning to just say a couple of words, and I spoke with his aide, and I kind of just told him what I was thinking, and he asked that I come up here and say the same things to you. And that is personal experience here. I enlisted in the Air Force when I was 18 years old. I used the GI Bill and an ROTC scholarship to get a commission. I was fortunate enough to fly airplanes in the Air Force until I retired. But after that commission, about 10 years later, my partner and I, Mike Key and Travis Peterson, who's out in the audience, we used a VA SBA loan to start our business here in Fort Walton Beach. And then 5 years later, we used another VA SBA loan to open this business. The building you're sitting in was bought with a veteran SBA loan. When he asked me if the governor could come and use our facility, I thought somebody was pranking me, and I said sure. But what it really I wanted to express to everybody is, without the support of the governor and without these veteran bills, I will not see the benefits of these. But these men and women back here who are standing, as they depart the armed forces and they go into the next phase of their life, these bills are really going to mean something. So they are needed, they are important, they do work, and I just wanted to say thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, good deal. Anyone got anything for the good of the order? All right, God bless everybody. Thank you.
I have some water in the truck, so I can't wait to get to it. You too,